In this tutorial, we are going to cover sending emails and text messages from your eDirect Glass account. Now, in eDirect Glass, we have a couple different ways that not only can you send text messages, but also emails or emails and text messages at the same time. There is a feature in eDirect Glass which allows you to set up what we call canned or predetermined messages so that when your CSRs are communicating with customers, they don't have to worry about typing out messages that they normally would type over and over and over again. So for things that are common in communicating with your customers, you're going to want to set that up in your eDirect Glass account. So to do that, with administrative privileges, click under Administration and then click on System Admin. In the list, you'll have email and text strings down underneath the admin section. So click on that, and here you can set up your what we call canned messages or your email and text strings. So for example, I have this one set up that says, "Thank you for selecting Shades Auto Glass for your automotive glass repair and replacement needs." And I have that marked as active. And I do want that to be available for texting and email. Now we also have this other button here that you can click on that also would, if you did click on it, would send this when you create a new quote. So this is a useful feature that if you're onboarding a new customer, you can automatically send this customer a greeting if they have an email or text that are actually valid. So the nice part about this is we can actually have this welcome message, for instance, "Thank you for selecting Shades Auto Glass," automatically go out when we create that quote for the customer. So to add one, all you have to do is click on the add button. It's marked as active by default. Choose whether that is text or email, also whether that's going to be for sending a new quote, and then type in whatever you want. When you're done, click on Save. Now, to use those canned messages or to send an email or text message, go ahead and go into any record that you have. So this could be a quote, work order, or an invoice. And you'll see over here on the email window, I have my email address in here. At the same time as well, you can see because the primary phone number is marked as green, that indicates that is a mobile phone that receives text messaging. So in this messaging box, I can actually choose that canned message that I did earlier. So thank you for selecting Shades Auto Glass, and I can click on Send. That'll bring up this dialog box that asks me where do I want to send this to. So I have the options of sending this to the owner or the service location. So this is very helpful in that if I'm communicating with someone different than the owner, perhaps at the service location, maybe it's a husband or wife that I'm dealing with at the service location, but it was the husband or wife that actually called the job in, so it could be two different people, I can actually communicate with either both or one of them or all of them. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and mark as email and primary phone. Now in the system right now, my settings are set up for a couple different ways to send email. The first way is that I have my shop's email address set up. So you can set up your own general email server with email credentials so that all users will just send from that account and any replies go back to that account. However, in my case here, I also have set up my own user email settings so that when I send the email as the CSR, it goes through my email account and any replies back from the customer are going to obviously come back to me and not to the general account. So that allows me to manage my customers as a CSR without having it go to a general pool and having to deal with messages from perhaps an admin or something. So to send this message now, we're sending the "Thank you for selecting Shades." I click on Send Message, and the system now is automatically dispatching that. And when this is done, it put in two things. One, here in the text or the SMS chat window, you can see that I sent it. And at the same time too, over here, it put down in the customer notes, you can see it. I'm going to highlight it here. It actually says the time and date stamp, me as the CSR, that I emailed the customer, and whatever the message is. So right now, I have successfully communicated with this customer, and let's go ahead and take a look at what that email looks like being sent to the customer. So here's the email that came in, and you can see that instead of coming from my shop account, it came from one of my email addresses, and it says it's to me and thank you for selecting Shades. So now as the customer, I'm reading this email, I can go ahead and click on reply, and here in the reply, thank you, and I look forward to speedy and quality service. Thanks, Gary. So when I hit send now, that message is going to be dispatched back now to my personal email address instead of the shop's email address. So that still would be the same. So for instance, it's Gary at xyzdomain.com. Maybe your shop's account is admin, etc. So, again, just a good way of managing, allowing your users to manage their customers and manage the communication that they deal with. So now let's take a look at what that reply message looks like in my personal email. So on the screen here is the message that actually came back. So we can see the thread. So this is the original thread that I sent from the eDirect Glass account on the top, and then the customer replied. Bottom, and then now the top. So, so again, very excellent way to manage messages. While we do recommend that your shop uses its general account, the admin settings, we also recommend you go through for each user and set up their email so that when they're communicating with the customers that they onboard, and or like when they're sending a message, maybe it's a copy of a quote, work order, invoice, that is always being personalized and sent from the respective account. So now let's also take a look at the reply for text messages. So on the screen here, we can see in the message window that the message was delivered. So in the SMS window, remember there's two different chat windows here. One is your texting message center, which is SMS. It's another name for texting. And then over on owner notes, that's where the email messages go that you send out, or any other type of notes that you put in for the owner. So now here we're looking at the date and the timestamp for the text message that got sent out, and then what that text message was, and it does indicate that it was delivered. So now from my mobile device, because I sent that to myself, I'm going to go ahead and type a reply, and we'll take a look at what that looks like. So there's a couple different areas in eDirect Glass that we're going to see text messages. Now, the most important one is, as I'm logged in, you'll see up at the top of your screen, in the area that says inbound SMS messages, this indicates that we have 2 unread messages. So as I'm working throughout the day and customers are communicating back to me via text message, I can see this indication at the top. All I have to do is click on 2 unread messages, and I can see the messages that are in here. So for instance, it looks like I replied twice, which I did. So I can click on either one of these. So when I click on that or double click on it, it'll open up the record. And now here in the record window, I can see that I replied twice. So the first one, thank you, and then the second one, looking forward to the service. And since I did open one of those messages, my counter now has changed to 1 unread message. And to clear that, I would just click on here and double click on it. And now I've read that message, which now in a second here, that panel in the top will change and it'll clear that message, which it looks like it just did. So now in this message window, I have full communication with the customer via text message. And still over here, remember, I have my email message that I show sent out. However, remember, all email responses are going to go to the email account, whether that's my personal user one or your shop one. So there it is. That is sending messages to your customers via email. And there are other areas of sending email as well. So if I was going to email or fax this quote, the same thing would apply. When I send the email or fax quote out, that goes out again underneath my user credentials, since I have my SMTP server set up. But if it was from the shop's account, it would dispatch from there. So you have all of these options, but the one that's mostly used in eDirect Glass is to communicate via customers with the SMS and or the email. So that's all right here. As usual, if you do have any questions and you need that support on using any of it, remember, you can always click on the live support button up on here, or contact us at 480-993-0915 and talk to a support agent during business hours. Thank you for watching the video, and make it a great day.